Hey guys, it's me, it's Queen Auset-Heru, and thank you for joining me for today's edition of The Witch Trials. Today, guys, I've decided to put fantastic beasts and where to find them on trial for witchcraft accuracy. Now, many of you may have heard of fantastic beasts and where to find them, but what a lot of people don't know is that this series is the prequel to the Harry Potter series. This series came out in 2016 and it is set in 1926. So this would have been around the time of Harry's grandparents. There are a lot of tie-ins. There's two of these movies so far. We're going on number 3. So there are a lot of tie-ins between the two books. For example, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the title of the movie, is also the title of a book that the Harry Potter kids are using for school at Hogwarts. So there's a lot of tie-ins between these two series, obviously. And it's very interesting. I like it a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a summary of the movie. Then I'm going to tell you the vices, the virtues, and finally, I'm going to tell you if it has passed my trial or not. Well, first and foremost, this movie is about Newt Scamander. Newt Scamander is the person who wrote the book. He is the author, and he is also a magi zoologist. That means that he is a person who takes care of magical creatures. And he comes to the United States, to New York City, and he has a great deal of his magical creatures inside of his briefcase / suitcase. Now, this suitcase, we're going to find out, is magical. So all of his creatures and his workshop and his whole life fit inside of this briefcase. Okay? It's really cool. And he comes to New York. One of his creatures escapes. Big surprise there. And then he's chasing it. While he's chasing the creature, he meets the other main characters. He meets Jacob first. Jacob is a non-magical person. He's not a witch or a wizard, but he does end up being the main, I think he's like the second leading man or something like that in the movie. And then there are two leading ladies who are sisters, Queenie and Tina. So the thing about it is that he's running, he's chasing the beast. He runs into Jacob, who Jacob is just going to the bank, minding his own business, and gets caught up in this fantastical situation. Tina, he ran into after he lost Jacob, and Tina is like working for this governing body. All of the witches and wizards have a governing body for every country. So it's kind of like you have the United States of America, and then next to it you have the United States of America governing body for witches and wizards specifically. It's called MACUSA. Every country has a governing body over the witches and wizards. So Tina, works for MACUSA. So she decides she's going to take Newt Scamander in because it is against the law to let magical creatures loose in anywhere, basically. So she decides she's going to take him and she's going to turn him in before these beasts and Newt wreak havoc accidentally on New York City. So she tries to take him in. It doesn't really work out. The creatures escape because Jacob takes Newt's case instead of his. They get mixed up. The creatures escape all over New York City. And there's also in the background another story going on. There's a young man by the name of Credence who is basically a wizard, but doesn't know that he's a wizard because he was an orphan and didn't grow up in the wizarding world. And he doesn't know any of this information, and he has developed a parasite, a magical parasite. And this magical parasite is called an obscurus. So MACUSA, the governing body, is trying to find out where he is, because his parasite has broke out a few times and destroyed some buildings. I mean, this parasite is not just like a little tapeworm. We're talking about a huge black mass, like a cloud, like a black cloud, and it destroys whole city blocks. So they're trying to find him, and it just so happens that Tina, who is trying to turn Newt in, knows him, but she doesn't know that he's the Obscurus, because nobody finds that out until the end of the movie. For a long time, they're trying to misdirect you to think it's somebody else, and it's not that person. It's Credence the whole time. So Newt finally, him and Tina team up basically to find the creatures and get them back. And Tina betrays them, turns him into Makusa, and Makusa sentenced them to death because they said that she was not trying to turn him in, that she was actually his accomplice, and they decided they're going to kill them. They have to escape the Makusa offices, and they have to now go find all the creatures after all of this is going on. So that's how these two plots ran together. So now they're free. They've escaped. They're running around, trying to find the beast. They're finding them one by one. And the movie ends where they think they've killed Credence. We find out later he's not dead, but we don't find out that to the second movie. And they have got all the creatures. Credence is quote unquote dead. And Jacob, who was the non-wizard who was in on this whole journey, needs to be obliviated. His mind has to be wiped of all of the things that have gone on. So that's the basic summary. Trying to find these creatures, they've escaped, they found them, movie over. Okay? So you'll get a lot more details when I get into the virtues and the vices. So what are the vices of this movie? Where do I start? I mean, this movie has almost no magic in it. There's almost no real witchcraft in this movie. This entire movie is J.K. Rowling's imagination, because the beasts are totally fake. The beast that they have, like for instance, behind me is one of the beasts. This is called a Niffler. And this is from the movie. He is so cute though. I love him so much. Looks like a platypus. And they have a little thing here where you can put things in it. It's really cool. It's like a kangaroo pouch. So if you want to put things in it, you can stick things in it. And in the movie, the Niffler is sticking like jewelry and all kinds of things in his little pouch. So the creatures are really, really cute, but these beasts are totally fiction. We don't have any beasts like this in real witchcraft. In real witchcraft, we deal with cats and dogs and horses and just regular animals. There are some magical creatures from mythology, such as the unicorn, but none of us have one. If unicorns were ever real, we don't have them today. So, secondly, there's no witching world moving newspaper. They have a newspaper and it moves and it talks and does all this stuff. And modern witches, many of us don't even read the newspaper. And those of us who do read the New York Times or something like that, we read a regular old newspaper from our city is the bottom line. There is no moving paper, which would be really cool. The Beast suitcase. Newt's suitcase or briefcase or whatever you want to call it, when you open it and you can go inside of it, there's an entire world in this case. His whole world, basically, his shop, his belongings, all his creatures live inside of this case. There is no such thing in real witchcraft. I wish there was, because that would be really cool. I would love one of those. I could get my entire apartment plus anything I needed inside of it. There is no obscurus. If a witch or wizard like Credence has to, suppress their magic, they will not develop a huge black cloud that destroys entire city blocks. This is a total fabrication. If you deny your abilities, you'll probably just make yourself miserable more so than anything else. Then they did a spell to change their clothes. There is no spell to change your clothes. You got to do that on your own. So I thought it was kind of cool though, because I would love it if there was one. Instant magic is fake, 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 fake. I cannot express this enough. They take a wand and do some magic with it, and the next thing you know, whatever they want has happened. Their clothes have changed, everything in the room is fixed. They can do all kinds of stuff with their wand. And even though we do really use wands in witchcraft, instant magic is fake. You're not going to instantly manipulate something. Even if you cast a spell, it's going to take a few minutes, a few hours to kick in. Teleporting is not real. These creatures, these witches and wizards can teleport all over. I wish I could teleport. It is so cool. They can teleport from the room to the next room. I mean, they can just jump, and they can just be here 1 minute in another city the next minute. I'm not sure how far they can teleport, but they can be from right here at least to another part of town in seconds. So the teleportation aspect is, we're talking more like X-Men or something like that than witches. Memory wiping, they call it obliterating. Basically, they take their wand and they put it over your mind and you forget everything that just happened. You can't remember anything. So that kind of a spell would probably be useful in a lot of cases, but it's definitely fake, fake, fake. Makusa is fake. There is no governing body over all witches, because witches come from different traditions. We live in different parts of the world. So there is no governing body over us. Basically, you might have a coven or a group that you're a part of, and your group may make, rules that you have to go by, but there is no national or international group like the United Nations that governs witches and wizards. In this world, in this wizarding world, this Harry Potter world, there is a ministry, there is some kind of a government organization in every country over the witches that live in that country. This is absolutely fake. It could be helpful, maybe, but it is absolutely fake. Moving inanimate objects like typewriters, cleaning objects with magic. When you walk into the Makusa buildings, there is like vacuum cleaners running by themselves. There's typewriters typing up things on their own. There's all kinds of stuff going on that could never, ever happen. Inanimate objects are not going to be able to do that. At one point, they go to a speakeasy. And in the speakeasy, they order something called giggle water. Giggle water is basically liquor for witches and wizards. Witches and wizards do not have our own special liquor. We pretty much use rum. Depending upon what the spell calls for, a lot of times it's rum, maybe even whiskey. But witches and wizards use the same alcohol that everybody else uses. But in this movie, they use giggle water, which I thought was so funny. They executed witches with acid. Now, there was a time period when if you betrayed your coven, and it depended on the time period, depended on the culture, it depended on where it was, but there was a time period where if you betrayed your coven, they would kill you. This is the rumor anyway. And so execution of witch on witch could occur. But in this movie, they use some kind of weird acid to drop the witch into, and it would kill you. And that weird acid execution thing is not real. That's totally fake. In this movie and in Harry Potter, you see a lot of wand dueling. So one person has a wand and you have your wand and I point it at you and then we duel, This does not happen with real wands. First of all, because you can't see the magic shooting out of them. Some people can. I don't see the magic shooting out of them, and it doesn't work like electricity, which is how theirs work. Theirs work like electricity. That's totally fake. Fixing massive damage with spells. They take their wands and fix New York City. All the stuff that's blowing up from the obscurus, it's like a whole like trench going down the street. Entire buildings have been knocked over, signs have fallen down, cars have been destroyed, and they walk down the street with their wands and just fix everything. I wish that was true. Oh my goodness, if that was the case, I mean, the stuff that JK has thought up, if this stuff was true, life would be perfect. Life would be perfect for us all because the stuff that she has thought up would make life so easy. We would have very little conflict if we had all this stuff going on. And the last one, they were able to wipe the minds of an entire city. An entire city with one potion. Newt gives one of his beasts a potion, and the beast flies into a cloud with the potion, breaks it open, and it starts to rain. And the entire city is obliterated with this rain. They can't remember any of the stuff that just happened, none of the explosions, not the obscurus, none of the magical stuff. They've seen all of this stuff, and they totally forget about it because of this potion. And that cannot happen. So, being as though this movie has, let me tell you, 15 vices, you would think that I didn't like the movie. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of movies that I've watched have a lot of vices, and I like them anyway. And I'm going to tell you why I like this movie. I like the movie first and foremost because Nifflers are so cute. They're adorable. I love the creatures, and that's my favorite one. So I love the creatures in the movie, number one. Number two, I like this movie because the main character, Newt Scamander, is a really great guy. He is a nice person. He's not toxic. He's not macho and manly. You know, he's a very nurturing, very caring kind of guy. He is in tune with his emotions. I mean, he's like the perfect date. You know, a lot of women I know would love to date Newt Scamander. He's understanding. He's really sweet. I love Newt Scamander. Jacob, his sidekick in the movie, is a doll. I love Jacob. He's a short, fat guy, number one. And I like that because my daddy was a short, fat guy. So I love short, fat guys. I love that. And I like that because of my father and because of the fact that I get tired of seeing movies where everybody looks the same. Every movie has some tall, dark, handsome guy in it with a perfect jawline that meets a perfect skinny white girl with long hair, and they live this happy life, you know? And Jacob is the opposite of that. He's a doll. He's a nice guy, but he's handsome and he's short and he's chubby. And I love that about him because he's not the typical gentleman that you would see playing in a movie, you know, the second lead male role. So I love that. I love the fact that this movie was not afraid to step away from that. Wands are really used in rituals. I have 3 wands and they really are used. We do use them in ritual, and the energy, it is believed that the energy comes, it channels through the wand, but the energy comes from the witch. The wand isn't where the energy comes from. It's just channeled through the wand. So that's true. They use them in the movie and we really do use them. We just don't use them the same way. Jacob has a picture of his grandmom over his bed. I thought that was hysterical. How are you going to be a single man and get your groove on with a picture of your grandma over your bed? That made me laugh so hard. And for me, it just told me what a sweet guy Jacob really is. You know, I thought that was so cute when he walked in. I was like, is that his grandma? And he was like, sorry, grandma. And I thought that was so sweet. Mind readers. There are people who can read minds. I do it all the time. I do it by accident, though. Sometimes I'll just say something. Like the other day, a friend of mine and I were talking, and I told her, I said, you know, you and your boyfriend should plan a trip. You should plan a trip together. It would be a lot of fun, and you guys could, you know, really spend some time together. A couple days later, she inboxed me and was like, "Girl, you be knowing. He just told me he wanted to go on a trip." She was like, "How did you know that?" And I was like, "I didn't. It just these things just come to me." So there are people who can pick out of your mind what's going on with cards. Like I do it with cards all the time. And some people can just, pick up on something like I did in that case. So that does happen. And some of us are stronger at it than others. The special effects in this movie are amazing, amazing special effects. I just loved it. The creatures and everything. The special effects are wonderful. I love Queenie. Queenie is the second lead female role, and I just thought that she was really adorable. She's cute, she's pretty. She is a typical looking woman, but she's pretty. I like her cute little haircut, and I thought that she was adorable. I thought she was a very likable character. Makusa, the governing body, is ran by a black woman. The president is a black woman. And she is fly and she is beautiful. She wears head wraps. She got like little curls coming. I mean, she's adorable. She's a beautiful black woman. And her clothes, I mean, she is fly. Out of everybody, I think I liked her wardrobe and costumes the best. So being a black woman, I thought it was really cool to see another black woman as the head of Makusa. The secrecy of magic and witchcraft. Magic generally is done in secret. Before, because you could be burned at the stake for it, and in modern times, because a lot of people aren't open to it. So some witches and wizards call themselves being in the broom closet, is what they call it. And that means that they are a witch or a wizard, but they don't tell anybody for fear of persecution. So you'll see a lot of that secret kind of nature. Like in the movie, they're supposed to be secret, and that's true in real life. For some of us. Some of us, like myself, don't care, and it's just like whatever, but some people are very secretive about it. The actor who played Credence, his name is Ezra Miller. He is amazing. And I didn't know he was amazing until I saw him in an interview. And I was like, the character that he plays in Fantastic Beasts and his real personality are totally different. So, he's good. He's really good. He's able to create a whole different character that's nothing like him. So his acting is amazing. The set design is amazing, and the costumes are amazing. So I liked 13, which is my number 13, things about this movie. Now, what did this movie get as far as witchcraft accuracy? Well, because the number is so high of vices, this movie actually gets a D. This movie basically failed. I would have to give it a D minus because this movie basically is failing. The only reason why I didn't give it an F is because they had a few things going on that we can actually do. But this movie gets a D minus because most of this is make believe. I mean, if you think witches can do any of this stuff, most of it, I'm sadly mistaken. It's sadly mistaken. It just can't. 90% of the stuff in this movie is just fake. J.K. Rowling and whoever worked with her on this movie have one hell of an imagination. So patrons, I hope that you enjoyed this episode of The Witch Trials. And if you have not seen this movie and the one after it, it's worth a watch. I like both of them. And like I said, even though there isn't a lot of real witchcraft in them, it's still a very delightful tale. And it's one that I enjoy, and I do recommend, as long as you're looking through it through the lens of fiction. That's the only thing. You must remember, this is not real. Okay, guys? All right. Come back next week because I'm going to do another movie and put another movie on trial, and we're going to talk about that one too. All right, guys. See you later.